down to be here. We're talking all that.
Okay, I think we're going here. Are we live? We are. All right, here we go. Week number 2 for me. We're going to talk about AN hardware.
Oh, fun.
Tap and die, thread repair, and hardware.
Are we starting with the hardware?
Q&A is not in your Google Drive. No, we're going to start with thread repair. You want me to start with hardware?
Yes, please.
I could. I think thread repairs. Well, no, I'm not, because I think there's sometimes I write things in a linear fashion, and then if I go out, I'll be like, well, you don't understand it because I explained it earlier. So, all right. So we talked about tap and die thread repair, something that you do a lot of in aviation, and the more you screw up, the more you do it. So we've got the taps, we got the dies, we got the handles. What else I got? Oh, we can do a lot with that. Okay. So here we go. Got to write some stuff. I have got to give you guys your carpal tunnels. So one,
Tap and die.
tap and die. You shall tap and you shall die. All right, definition. Or definitions, a tap. The tap is used to create internal threads. That's in a hole. A tap is used to create internal threads. Internal threads, that is in a hole. And that means a die is used to create external threads. That is on round stock. Oops. ROU and round stock. In truth, you're not going to do a bunch of dyeing of anything. That just doesn't happen. If you need a dye, it's because you ruined a bolt. If you ruined a bolt, buy a new one. Under no circumstances would I ever try and, I shouldn't say, for the most part, you don't try and fix bolts. Sometimes you get a little burr on it. And I have, we have them here at the tool room too, but I have thread repair kits, which is just a hardened steel nut that is grooved so that you can put it on and run a nut over something and back off so that it just kind of cleans it up a little bit. But if it was a critical nut, you know, something where that really, really mattered, I would just throw it away. What do we got here? Types of threads, because this is the important part why we're going to do this. So. All right, there are a lot of different thread types, and you as a mechanic have to be very careful of this thread. Where you're really going to run into this problem in this program is Arrow 312 and 313. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
When you get into accessories, when you're dealing with pipe threads, hose fittings, and coarse threads, fine threads, I mean, you really have to be able to identify it and use it. If you don't, you're going to break something. You're going to screw something together the wrong way. I mean, there's so many people. Yeah, they're putting pipe threads into hose fittings. Like, oh my gosh, and sprays fuel everywhere. And like, well, that's why you can't do that. So, what's that?
Cross threads with the strongest threads.
Yeah, that's a good safety, right? Okay, thread types. There are several different. There are lots. There are several different types of threads. Several different types. Okay, so let's start with this one. There's the Unified Thread Standards. In fact, when doing this, I found there was more thread types than I even knew there were. UTS, All right. I actually have a note that says parallel threads. I'm not even sure why I wrote that. Okay. So under that, there are national course. N-A-T, national, I-O-N, national course. And United course.
Is that course with a U or course with a
I know, I just wrote it. I'm like, I don't think that's right. That's like a,
What kind of
That's
course
like
is
a
that?
school course.
yeah, C-O-R-S-E, right?
C-O-A-R-S.
C-O-A-R-S-E. Yeah. Microsoft Word thought different.
United course?
Yeah. Course, that's NC and UNC. So, in my world, you're really going to just see NC, national course. That's kind of what you see all the time. Well, if it's going to be course. Most of the time it's not. Most all aviation hardware is not course. Lycoming is the exception to that rule. Lycoming loves course threads, but everybody else seems to like fine threads. So national fine thread, national fine, and national, national and United, that's what I meant to say. There we go. So NF and UNF. I just don't see this U thing. I don't know. The only difference is, and I thought this was funny, is that NF has a 1 inch by 14 threads per inch, while UNF has a 1 inch by 12 threads per inch.
What does that mean?
Threads per inch.
Oh.
So we'll talk more about.
After that?
So NF has 1 inch by 14. It's a 1 inch wide,
Yeah.
14 threads per inch, and UNF has 1 inch, 12 threads per inch. So you wouldn't be able to put a nut on across the nut. Let me see, ABC. I've got United, National Extra Fine. And United Special. And that's UNS, United National Special. And this is NEF, National Extra Fine, or United National Extra Fine. So one of those two. But again, in our world, you're going to have national course, national fine when it comes to bolts. Oh, good, I wrote that. So, modern aircraft hardware. Hardware is UNF, National Fine, UNC, Course, and NPT, pipe thread. Didn't write that. That's pipe. So fine, coarse, pipe. Those are your threads. Got it?
Yep. What does NPT stand for? I know it's
National Pipe Thread.
that's it.
This applies to both metric and standard. Although all your legacy airplanes, as far as I know, they all use standard. But you get into the light sports, you're going to see more of the metric. All right, thread size. So within this national course, national fine, national pipe, pipe's the hardest one to figure out. Pipe is weird. So there's no rhyme or reason. Like the size of my pen right here, that's 1/8" pipe. So if that was threaded, I go, oh, that's 1/8" pipe. There's nothing about that that's 1/8". You can see it from there, but that's 1/8" pipe. You just have to know that. So let's see, thread size. There we go. Threads are classified by diameter and threads per inch. So threads are classified by diameter and threads per inch. And threads per inch. TPI. Unless it's metric, then it's millimeter. So here, a common aircraft bolt. So this is like an example. Is a 1/4 inch diameter by 28 threads per inch. This particular one would be, so this would be this is a UNF. Is that fine or coarse thread? Yeah. Fine. The first number, 1/4, is the diameter. That's OD, outside diameter. That is not the wrench size.
Bolt size.
It's the size of the bolt. It has nothing to do with the size of the wrench. How do you know what the outside diameter then is of something?
Measuring it.
Okay. Use a ruler. Hard to do. Dial caliper. The best. Or micrometer.
Or just stick the threaded part in the wrench part.
You understand that. I'm not going to say it right now. To measure the outside diameter. All right, the second number.
Micrometer to what?
Measure the outside diameter. OD, outside diameter. The second number, which is, in our example, 28, is the threads per inch. Threads per inch. And use a thread pitch gauge to measure. Let's see, do I have a picture of a thread pitch gauge? There we go. All right. Okay, thread pitch gauge. So the proper way to use a thread pitch gauge, as you can see, this is a pretty typical one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we'll say there's about 28 options there. So don't go through all 28 options. Measure the bolt. And honestly, use a dial caliper, right? Or a vernier caliper. Those are the fastest and easiest way to do it. And now we're talking nominal size. So if it's a 1/4 inch bolt and you take your caliper and you close it and it says 0.260, what's the size of the bolt?
Quarter.
It's 1/4. Is 260 a 1/4?
No.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. It's nominal size. It's close. There you go. So it's 1/4 inch. So if you know that it's a 1/4 inch bolt, you're going to look at this chart right out of 4313. So if I know it's a 1/4 inch bolt and I want to know how many threads per inch, there's only 2 possibilities, not 28.
Quarter 28 or quarter 20.
That's it. Look at this chart right here. It tells you right here, 1/4 28 or 1/4 20. So what's the second number?
The threads per inch.
Threads per inch. It's either going to be
20 or 28.
20 or 28. Because now people come to me like, look, I got this bolt. I don't know, like 28 kind of works, but 30 also does. But it says like 28 or 30. I'm like, there's no 30 on here. So why are you even trying that? You know, it's either, you know, what is it? It's a 1/4 inch bolt. Well, then it's 28 or 30. What if it's a 7/16 inch bolt?
14.
7/16. It's either there. It's either a 20 or 14. That's it. 1, 2. You're done. Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay. Class fit. Not all bolts are created the same.
No.
Let me see. Oh, let's see. What I wrote in my notes, I'm like, that is not right. I see why it's not right. Okay. Aircraft bolts have 4 classes of fit. And that's according to Fastenal. I read that somewhere. According to Fastenal, this company that makes bolts, there are 6 classes. 1 A and B, 2 A and B, 3 A and B. A is external threads and B is internal threads. I'm not going to write all that because it's okay. So 1, that'd be class 1. Class 1. A very loose fit. A very loose fit that can be turned easily by hand. Very loose fit that can easily be turned by hand. I actually read somewhere, maybe when I was working on this and just kind of thinking about stuff, that a class 1 fit was actually designed to be used on tanks, not like, you know, cylinders, but the shooting tanks. And the idea was that if you dropped a bolt in the dirt or the mud, it had to have a loose enough fit that you could pick it up and start screwing it in. So I'm serious. That's what I heard. So class 1, very loose fit, and that was the reasoning behind it. Don't know if it's true, but.
Well, that's just saying.
Is that so they can assemble those Jeeps by hand real fast?
Yeah. Class 2, called a free fit. I put that in quotes because it's like something I read. It's like they call it less slop than a class 1.
But it can still be.
B, aircraft screws are generally a class 2. A class 2 fit. All right, let me show you this.
Like the magneto screws kind of?
Okay. 'cause I always forget to emphasize this. Notice the sizes here. You have an 8, a 10, and then a quarter. Okay, so screws. In aviation, there is a number 4, a number 6, number 8, and a number 10. So these are the screws. You need a screwdriver. That's how you know it's a screw, because you use a screwdriver. That's the name. And then you get into bolts. Bolts. So what class fit are these screws?
2.
2. Is that a tight fit? A little sloppy? What is it?
A little sloppy.
Okay. Now in bolts, we start right here with a 3/16. These two, should I get a different color just to be cool, are nearly the same. So this is a 3/16 by 32 threads per inch. This is a number 10 at 32 threads per inch. These take the exact same nut. They're the same. So when you look right here, well, how come there's no 3/16? Well, I don't know. If it were me, I would have probably put the number 4, the number 6, and the number 8. And then I probably would have called that one a 3/16. But they've always done it this way and called it a 10. So a 10 is the same as a 3/16. It is the same. So if you're trying to find if you have a number 10 screw and you're trying to find a nut to fit the number 10 screw, you're never going to find a number 10 nut. Well, I should say never. Probably not. What are you going to find?
3/16.
A 3/16 nut, and that's what works, and they fit together. Although sometimes it'll, like washers. I'm trying to think what a washer is. AN 960. I think it's AN 960 10. No, that's the big one. So yeah, washers are going to default to the bolt size
Is
too.
that something we're just supposed to know, or is there someone?
You have to know this.
Okay.
What I just told you, you have to remember that. I am not going to ask you to memorize these part numbers we're going to talk about. Like on the test, I'm not going to say, hey, what's an AN 365? And you'll be like, what the heck? I didn't know that was that kind of class. It's not.
Self-locking die.
It is. Okay. Then there's class 3. Class 3. That is a medium fit. Yes, medium fit. There we go. Parentheses. Assemble by hand with little or no movement. So assemble by hand with little or no movement. Aircraft bolts are generally a class 3 fit. But if you were to hand me an aircraft bolt and I were to feel it, I would say it doesn't quite meet the standard of assembled by hand with little or no movement. There's actually quite a bit. So by definition, I would call it a class 2, but they say it's not. It's a class 3. So then there's class 4, which is a close fit. A close fit. A wrench is required to assemble.
Would that be like a machine fit? Or
I just call it class 4, required to assemble. A machine fit? I don't know about that. Thread direction. Almost all threads in the world are right hand. Are right hand threads. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. left-hand threads, which means righty loosey, lefty tighty. Left-hand threads are usually marked. Not always. In some way. Some of the ways usually it's a hash mark, not a hashtag, or L printed on it. Let me see if I can. We'll just use this for an example. So like this is right-hand thread. So if it were not, it would usually have something that looks like that. That's just a machining mark. But it would clearly have, like, the corner would be cut out right here. Like they took a hacksaw right at that point and right on the edge cut a big slice right there and another one right there. And on all the little flats, you'd have some sort of indication on it. That's one way that you see left-hand threads.
I've seen them on like pipe or like for welding stuff.
Yeah.
They'll have them like perpendicular to that.
Yeah, I've seen it. Oh, there, like
Yeah,
that,
right
like
there.
that cut out. There. That's probably more accurate. Thanks. Right there. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. I'm not. Let's erase that. That was wrong. Right there. Yeah, thanks. It would be cut right there. Hash, hash, hash. So.
I just figured it was different.
All right. Let me see. Thread direction. Pipe threads. Hey, good place to be right now. I'll go back one. Like I said, pipe threads are really difficult for you to try and figure out the size. And like I said, my pen would be a perfect one for an 1/8" pipe right there, 1/8" pipe. This came out of Genuine Aircraft Hardware. It's a book, and it's actual size, so you can kind of compare it. So you can see 1/8 NPT, National Pipe Thread. It measures across at almost, it's close to 1/2 inch. And then over 1/2 inch would be quarter, and then it has to do, I think, with the size of the pipe, obviously. So you got 1/8, quarter, 3/8, half, 3/4, 1 inch. And then on the other, what I'm going to show you in a second. So these are AN fittings. We just call them AN fittings. I don't know why. It's just always been that way. They're AN fittings. So just looking at this real quick, this is pipe. This is not pipe. That goes into the hose or into the fitting. Like there's your hoses right there. All of those hoses are going to screw onto this flared part. You're going to get into flared fittings in second year. But I need you to not screw things up. So this down here, what is this? 27 threads per inch. That's a -12. So let me see. Let me see. 3/8, 24. Yeah, so this is 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch, that's 5/16, 24 threads per inch on one side and 27 on the other, if it's even. If you had one this size, a -5 hose, you have, it's half 20 on one side and 14 on the other. So you see, the threads aren't really compatible, but they're somewhat close. So it's really common for me to see in this program, students taking, and these can be mixed and matched. So, more common, let me see. Where's that? Yeah, this is a more common fitting. See how it's got pipe on one side and it's got the hose on the other side? It's not uncommon for me to see a student shove a hose onto this side. It will not seal. This is the sealing edge right here, this little cone. So there's an opposite cone and the cones go together and that's how it seals. Pipe thread seals because it starts out thin or narrow and gets fatter as it goes. So the more you turn pipe thread into something, the tighter the fit gets. So what do I see? I see students trying to hook a hose up to here, and it'll kind of stick on, which is cool. And you can sort of fit this in a little bit. It only damages the part you're doing it a little bit. So smash that in there. Well, if this was supposed to go into the pipe side and this is supposed to go in the hose side, you know what kind of mess it makes when you're getting, a couple PSI going on there? It sprays out all over the place. You're like, I don't understand, teacher. So don't do that. Pipe is pipe. Now, pipe is really dangerous because, like I said, it seals because it's an interference fit. So the tighter you make that, the more it swells up in there. Well, and I've seen this before. where somebody have a little bit of leak and they're like, well, I'll just tighten it up a little bit. And you tighten up a little bit, tighten a little bit more. Then it starts leaking more. Why is it leaking more? Because you just split whatever it is you're screwing it into and created this big old crack, and now it's shooting out the crack. And the more you screw this in, the wider the crack gets. So don't do that. Got to be very careful when you're doing that. So this is the pipe end, and this is the pipe end here. This is the not pipe end. That's the hose end. You're like, I don't remember that. That was 2 years ago. All right, so I will write some directions on that after the break.